Hi guys, I thought I'd do something a little bit different. I thought, should we normalize poolside podcasts? I think that just sounds phenomenal to me. I just, I don't handle heat well, but if I can get in the water, I thrive so much. And, but anyways, I realize as I'm getting back into the swing of things, I was off for a couple weeks because of my son's wedding, and which was absolutely phenomenal. But as I'm getting back to the swing of things, I realize I'm actually really overwhelmed with subjects to talk about because there's so many, and absolutely so many, and I don't ever know where to go or where to start, And so I actually felt like the Lord said there's enough time for all of that. Let's do a life update. And so I just want to do a life update, and share a few of what the upcoming podcasts are going to be about. So first of all, as you guys all know, I was in Beverly Hills, California, literally the pandemic started like not even 2 months after I moved there. And, I experienced a lot of loss, a lot of trauma, and I just didn't, but at the same time, this is what's crazy, is at the same time, there was so much favor on my life and so many open doors. And I've learned to say the term that the favor on my life and the gifting and the anointing opened up doors that my character, my broken girl inside, wasn't ready to handle. And so yes, it is possible to get overwhelmed with goodness, especially when your biggest MO is to self-sabotage. And like I've said this a million times, I didn't always self-sabotage when things were bad. I self-sabotaged when things were really good. Anyways, it's no secret. Alcohol became a problem, especially during the riots, because that was all going on outside of my house when they were looting Rodeo Drive, and so much violence, and I could feel the violence in the air, the hate, all of it. And it, I was always someone that could have a drink here or there, and it was never an issue. But I just so innocently said to a friend, I said, you know what, I'm having a gin and tonic, because it was like this crazy, hardcore violence outside, but this eerie loneliness, being in that place around the clock by myself, especially when I was used to traveling all the time and all the things. Anyways, all that to say, it didn't take long for the addictive personality in me to take over, and I imploded. I absolutely imploded. And I've shared this testimony. This part isn't there. I'm just getting us up to speed. So then, the Lord just always kept highlighting this church to me called Limitless Church out in Thousand Oaks. And they always felt like family. They will always feel like family. And instead of, they really valued connection. And I realized that I may have been traveling all over the world and speaking at different things, but I wasn't really connecting to people, because there's a lot of green rooms and celebrity church. I got exhausted with celebrity church, for real. I don't ever want to do that again. And but then I was to the point of imploding, that it was like I needed help. And I ended up reaching out to Tertia, and she had a dream, and the Lord had already told her I was going to be coming. And so I went out there, and the amount of guilt and shame that I had to crawl out of for imploding, feeling like I ruined everything the Lord gave me. I did this, I did that. And I remember one time Tertia said to me, actually, I think the Lord showed you what was possible, but before it could continue to keep snowballing, he pulled you into this safe bubble to heal you. And that really resonated with me. So needless to say, for a long time, I just in and out of messes and relapses and straight, like it was really hard to get back on my feet. I'm not gonna lie, it was really difficult, and I wouldn't have made it. I wouldn't have made it if it wasn't for them. And so, anyways, fast forward, I started coming out of the dark. I started to come out of that. But it was crazy because I knew over a year ago that I was released to go back into ministry, but there was a part of me that just felt stuck. And it was really crazy because, you know, I thought I'd be in Thousand Oaks forever. And I don't know that I'm done in Thousand Oaks, because I don't know that where I'm at right now is permanent. It doesn't feel like it. The Lord hasn't said that. But I lost my train of where was I at? But I just thought that that's where I was going to be. And then the Lord started talking to me about Reading, and I'm like, okay, no. And I just knew that was the furthest thing. And then this amazing woman, Catherine, sends me a prophetic word on Facebook Messenger. Now, mind you, I haven't said a word to anyone, not a soul. And she says, she goes, Jenna, I think she said she had a dream or a vision, I can't remember, but that she'd had a dream or a vision, and that she thought God was going to be moving me geographical locations, and that it was going to feel like a step backwards, but it was a launch forward. And even she said she felt like it might only be temporary. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I'm like, is this real, Lord? And I still, you know, but I knew the one person who was gonna, or that I thought was gonna be upset if I told him that I was moving, which is basically my spiritual dad, Stephen and Rhonda in Florida. And I didn't say a word, but he was the one I knew that if I told him I was leaving Thousand Oaks, that he was gonna freak out on me. But he calls me and he says, are you thinking about moving to Redding? And I was like, oh gosh, here we go. And he goes, well, the Lord's been talking to me about it. And you could stay in Thousand Oaks and you'll be safe and it's permissible and you might touch a few lives. But if you go up to Redding, he's got something for you and you're going to change the world. And I felt the weight of it. But I didn't have any income. I didn't know how any of this was going to be possible. And then next thing you know it, Holly, who I started this journey with, her and Patrick call me and they're like, you know, we've got a spare room if you ever want to come stay, you know, whether it's 2 weeks or 10 years, you know. And I was like, are you guys serious? Because this is what the Lord's been telling me. And so what's funny is I've actually been in Reading since October 1st. I just wasn't ready to let anyone know that. And I went from such hardcore darkness to such intense treatment. I went through addiction therapy, regular therapy, satanic ritual abuse therapy, sexual trauma therapy. I did IOPs. I mean, I did a level of healing that was just, it had to happen. It had to happen, you know. And I remember when the Lord said to me, Jenna, I am filling the cracks in your foundation in order to sustain the call on your life. And the truth is, looking back now, if I would have stepped into some of the things I'm stepping into now, I would have buckled. I wouldn't have survived it. I barely survived it as it was. So, okay, my phone overheated. And so if there's a little shadowing, it's just because I had to move positions to put it in the shade. But anyways, where I was at was, like, I had no desire to leave Thousand Oaks. Like, I love these people. Like, I still love these people. And I was so afraid of the hurt that it would cause. I think I might have even done a little bit of avoiding, I guess. I don't know. But anyways, on October 1st, I loaded up my stuff. I came up to Reading, and I didn't know why. I just knew I was supposed to come. And what's crazy is that I went from like such darkness into such fix mode that it took me a while to come out of that, right? I didn't realize how much I got into a place of letting myself be stuck because of, fear of stepping back out, fear of people throwing what had happened in my face, fear of this, that, whatever. But the Lord just kept talking to me, and I was like, okay, Lord, what do you want me to film? Okay, Lord, what do you want me to do? Film. Okay, Lord, what else do you want me to do? Film. And for some reason, I just couldn't. I could not just get behind the camera, even though I used to live behind the camera. And you guys all knew where I was going, what I was doing, who I was with, what was happening. And I just couldn't do it. And so I'm so thankful for my friends Tom and Natalie and Stephen and Rhonda. And it was a really difficult thing to navigate that. And oh my gosh, and the endless process that Natalie got stuck with from me, just because, anyways. But all that to say, months go by, and I did get to do a couple really awesome things and meet some really awesome people and get involved in some awesome, especially like addiction ministry. And, I don't know how many of you guys know this, but I got certified in grief recovery. And so being able to help people with that. And I still do sessions from time to time. I still do, I thought I heard something. I still, and I still take, if you're suffering from grief at all, get a hold of me. I take people through grief recovery all the time, and I'm so thankful to be a specialist in that, because that's some powerful stuff right there. That's really what changed my life. And but anyways, but everything felt like, what it felt like? It felt like there was this, those little netted things that stuffed animals go in. Felt like one of those was above me with all this stuff that wanted to fall from heaven. But I was stopping it. I was the one that wasn't reaching up and pulling it open. Well, then, I love those best friend slaps that you can get. I was on the phone with Madeline. All of you guys know who Madeline is. And I remember going, I told her how the Lord had, for 8 months, had been telling me film, and this and that, whatever. And I was telling her all my reasons why I hadn't and my fears. And she goes, shut up. She goes, this isn't about this person or this situation or this group of people or this or that or whatever. She goes, this is about your in straight up disobedience. God has specifically asked you to do something. He's told you over and over, and you're just choosing not to. And for some reason, the way she said that, it was like everything disappeared, everything in the way. And now it was about, I need to repent and I need to come to the Lord. And it's like I pray and pray and pray for my future and my calling and my purpose, and he tells me exactly what to do, and I'm just not doing it. I'm like wanting to find another way, and I didn't realize how I was doing that. So needless to say, I knew I wanted to start with Holly. So as you guys know, I did a beginning with Holly. And what is so crazy is I had filmed that and I didn't release it for like, almost a week, because I still had fear. I'm punching through my fear, which I tell people all the time. It's okay to have it, just don't let it win. Of course it's going to come at you, just don't let it win. And so then it is so crazy, and some of the stuff I cannot go into detail, but literally the same day that loaded, the doors that started to open for me are absolutely unbelievable. And like I'll get into being able to share, just not yet. But I can give you a hint about something. God has me literally building like a special ops deliverance team for a very specific reason, which has always been in my calling. And I'm just super excited about that. And so anyways, well, then Holly and Patrick, due to some personal things, decided that they were going to sell their house and move up to Washington. And at the same time, the only people I had told that I was in Reading, my friends Ryan and Allison, they still tease me because I didn't tell them for like 4 months. But I let my friends Ryan and Allison know, and just the depth of relationship and the things that transpired due to when I didn't know what I was going to do. And, I'm not going to go into detail because I want to, appreciate people's privacy. Not everybody's as out loud as I am. But I also realize how much I didn't know how to live in peace. I didn't know how to live in peace, without waiting for when is it all gonna fall apart, So all that to say, where I'm at right now is I am in Reading. I have never felt more solid, more clear, more powerful, more grounded in my life. Like my mental clarity, my spiritual clarity. I've never felt more solid. And everybody, it's never been a secret though I don't talk about what I do involved in Hollywood just because I just don't. But that's always been spoken over me, and I always knew that was a big part. But I remember one day when I was actually feeling really down about myself and very unqualified for anything. And I remember the Lord said to me, Jenna, how many prophets can look at Hollywood and tell you and prophesy what's happening there? I'm like, a lot, a lot. And he goes, but how many of them have been set free from SRA and have the anointing to break the yoke of what they're trying to come out of? Now, you guys, I say that humbly. I don't say that arrogantly. I say that it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I just was like, okay, God, use me. Use me. And so the doors that have opened up to make things like that possible are just absolutely phenomenal. So my life update is this. I'm still single. I believe it's my season though. For some reason, for the first time in all these years, I actually believe it's my season to experience romantic love this side of heaven. I really think that's going to happen. But I'm in Reading. I'm building a special ops team for some really epic things. And I'm solid and I'm clear. I'm still doing a few sessions on the side. I just basically have been like, okay, Lord, whoever you put in front of me, whatever you do, I'm also not trying to charge, ridiculous amounts of money for that. I'm just in a different mindset, and I'm also taking people through grief recovery. I still help people that reach out that want to learn about their spiritual gifts, but I'm definitely going to be starting webinars, or I guess that's what you call them, webinars, but just like the classes I used to teach, but I'm going to be doing things like the do's and don'ts of demons, about how to identify and cultivate your spiritual gifts. There's a lot of teaching that I'm going to be doing because I just want to be able to get the teaching out there. So, but I think that is what, that looked funny in the camera. I think that's what I'm going to do for the next podcast is I really want to start it might be a 2 or 3 part series, but the do's and don'ts of demons. So anyways, here I am. I'm 52 years old. I'm in Reading, surrounded by the most amazing core people that I feel so in tune with God and with where He's got me. And I'm just now stepping into things, and you'll learn more as it goes. But I'm still always going to want to get the teaching out there and get the truth out there. And so I'm not exactly sure what it's going to look like, but this is where I'm at. So those of you that stayed to the end, like everybody else that has a thing on YouTube, like and subscribe. But yeah, the next one's going to be the do's and don'ts of demons. So anyways, I love you guys and just felt it was time to do a life update. Talk to you soon.